Let us get started. Welcome everyone to the Open Specimen webinar. Today we are going to talk about the mobile app. Not many know about this app, even though it's been a while that we have developed it. We are not, made it popular or marketed it so far, but this is something that we think is very useful under different scenarios, and we'd like you all to have a look at it. If you want to try it out, we'll be happy to work with you guys to try it, configure it for your scenarios to see if it is useful for you. So let's look at why something like a mobile app is useful, as well as what have we done so far. So before we get started with seeing what we have done, etc., let's first try to understand why a mobile app is useful in the context of OpenSpecimen. So what we are talking about is, well, some operations where not all operations, some operations are easier to do in a handheld device. So for example, if you're configuring a new protocol, or if you're trying to create a new query or a report, that probably is not something you do in a mobile app, or create a new form, administrative tasks, or reporting tasks, building catalogs. There are a lot of things in OpenSpecimen which are best done on a desktop or a laptop with a larger screen and things like that. Whereas there's some operations like you are in a crowded clinic, or you're sitting in front of the patient and walking them through the consenting process, or collecting surveys, questionnaires, etc. It's easier to do with the mobile device, or when I say mobile, I don't really necessarily mean a phone. It can be a tablet. In fact, it is much better to be a tablet than a phone, because it has slightly larger screens. Or if you're a lab user and you're standing in front of a freezer, you take out a specimen or a box, you should be able to quickly scan it and look at the contents of the box, or look at the details of the specimens, etc. So there are some operations which are better done on a handheld device versus some operations which are done better done on a laptop. So we'll try to look at some of these things. These were the examples that I was giving. So another example is, if you're a lab user and as you're processing the specimens, you also want to do the data entry. So typically, your gloves, you can, in your hand, you want more like a touch screen, kind of activity than trying to enter things in a keyboard. So some of these things are better done in a tablet kind of thing, this one. And the ultimate goal is to save time of end users, right? So the easier it is to do, it takes less time to do, and therefore you improve staff productivity and thereby save time and money that is better spent in doing other things. So that's the buyback, or the the investment that you do on the mobile app is, you should be paid over time, because it's saving a lot of your end user time. And anything that is easier to do, takes less time, also automatically reduces data entry errors, because now it is like I said, so if you're standing in front of a freezer, now you quickly want to check whether you pulled out the right specimen. All you do is scan, look at the specimen details, and say, okay, this is the right one or not, or whether you have the right box in your hand or not. So you don't have to get it to your table, look it up in OpenSpecimen on a laptop, and then figure out that, oh, this is not the right one, have to go back to the freezer. So all those kinds of things is where you save time, efforts, and ultimately money. So as I was talking about, there are three different touch points. When you look at how a specimen travels, or the different class of users in the context of OpenSpecimen. So there is a clinic where typically the nurses or the clinic coordinators engage with the patients in doing things like consent collection or registering a patient, collecting questionnaires, etc. So that's one touch point. The second is where you have labs where the specimens are processed, aliquoted. You receive the primary specimen and then do further processing out of it. And then finally, the storage facilities or where the specimens are stored. Now, the lab and storage could be same for many cases, or there could be an independent storage facility where all they do is store specimens, take it out, manage the boxes, manage the freezers, etc. So the mobile app is aimed at at these kinds of scenarios and not for doing things like administrative jobs or doing creating a report and all those kinds of activities, which as I said is better done on a desktop or a laptop, because finally everything is uh, depends on the real estate on the screen, right? So some things need larger screens, better done on larger screens, with where you have a lot more time to do something like that, versus some things are don't need large screens, but the convenience of handling the device and ability to do it when standing, when sitting, when roaming around is more important than the screen size per se. So it depends on those kinds of use cases of to decide. And the other critical use case is ability to scan a barcode. So if your tubes are barcoded, if your boxes are barcoded, etc., you'll be able to just scan, look at it, and then make sure that you have the right thing in your hand. So these kinds of things is what decides. Whereas if you're on a laptop, you can't directly scan or easily scan a tube into a laptop, right? So especially on a browser, there is no way to scan. So these kinds of things, unless again you attach a barcode scanner to your keyboard and then scan, which obviously then makes it easy to scan. So let's talk about clinic coordinators. These are the people who are in the clinic, and the typical use cases are registering new patients, collecting consents, or it could be medical, it could be questionnaire like medical history, smoking history, etc., or surveys that you are configured using our forms module. And when doing such tasks, it is much easier to sit with the patient with the tablet and go through it, even if needed, hand it, give it to them, show it to them how to the details, verify whether it is okay to do, etc. And the other task is usually to collect the primary specimens of the patient. So for example, you collected the whole blood, tissues, etc., and all this is defined in the collection protocol. So you'll be able to see in the mobile app what are the primary specimens configured in the protocol, and whether you got it or not. You do check, and add additional details and submit. So these kinds of things you can do with the mobile app. Now, if you're a lab user, again, the key feature would be to do scanning. So you can take out a specimen, scan a barcode, see the details of the specimen. Similarly, you can scan a box, and this is something that not yet implemented, but something that we are going to do it pretty soon. That is, when you scan a box, you should be able to see the whole layout of the box, what are the details of the box, as well as what specimens are stored in the box and things like that, and then click on the specimen to see overview of the specimen. So things like that you will be able to do when you have each of your box barcoded, and that the barcode of the box is available in OpenSpecimen. And as a lab user, you are interested in specimens, you should be able to do things like aliquoting of specimens. we just talked about, I just talked about, as a clinic user, you should be able to collect the primary specimens. Now these primary specimens are then sent to the lab for further processing. So the labs have to now mark those specimens have received, create the aliquots, create the derivatives, maybe collect some additional details about the specimens. There are forms, etc., that you have configured at the specimen level. So you can create aliquots, derivatives, etc., and also do some of these things are not yet implemented, like transferring, etc. But again, the goal is that you do scan, and then say, okay, I want to transfer these specimens, or you want to retrieve these specimens out of the freezer, check out, check in, those kinds of things. So all this is, again, the whole goal is to be able to do anything that is lab oriented, or things that the users do standing, or while they're moving, etc., more convenient for the users. So let's move on. So now, with that background of what is the context of a mobile app in a biobank, or what are the benefits of using a handheld device? Again, I keep saying mobile, but I don't really mean a mobile. It could be a tablet, or a mobile in a mobile app, because again, some of these things I personally feel that is even though the app itself works on both, and it's a choice that the labs have to decide what they want to do, but a tablet probably with a little bit larger screen is better to use than a mobile. But then technically the app works on both, so it's up to the labs. With the context of the reasons to use the mobile app, and the why it would be useful in a biobank, let's now look at what exactly we have done so far. Unfortunately, because of some technical glitches, I won't be able to do a live demo of the app, but I have enough material to show what we have done. And if anyone is interested, we'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one demo with them, where we actually configure the mobile app for their specific workflows, and show them. So first of all, it's a paid plugin. It sits on top of your OpenSpecimen. So there are things that we need to install on the server side to be able to support the mobile app, as well as give you the app to download. It works only on Android. I know a lot of people use iPhones and Apple phones, but then the reason that we currently support only on Android is that, one, lab devices are different than personal devices. I mean, this could potentially have PHI and things like that. So I don't think your personal iPhones, etc., can be used to connect to your OpenSpecimen, and you log in, etc. So that would not be a good idea from a HIPAA and security point of view. So these are then dedicated devices bought for the lab, and Android is much cheaper than Mac, iPhones or iPads, etc. So therefore, I know Android is a much better target for us than trying to develop apps for work, because when we develop mobile apps, there is additional effort in supporting new additional platforms. It's not like a web app that we develop on one platform and then it works on Safari, Microsoft Edge, Chrome, all in one go. Whereas when you develop native apps that you install on your phone, so the development on Apple is different than development on Android. So we'd rather focus on one platform and make it better until we figure out if there are enough people who want it on Apple. But given that the Android devices are much cheaper, and that the lab devices are separate than personal phones, because Obviously a lot of people would be having their personal devices as iPhones, iPads, etc. But I don't think that would be useful or usable in your lab data. So it is so therefore at this point we are focusing only on Android, and that is the plan to do, to restrict to Android on an ongoing basis in the near future. This app initially was developed with collaboration with one of our clients, which is King's College London, for a study called Precise. This is a pregnancy study, which is done at multiple countries, primarily in Africa, where countries like Gambia, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Kenya, etc., where the clinic coordinators from the study is funded by these two centers, University of British Columbia and King's College London, where the clinic coordinators go to go to different collection sites, off site, that is outdoors, or to the clinics in the outside the hospitals or wherever, to collect specimens from pregnant women and children, and the specimens are then sent to the lab, processed, stored, etc. So you can imagine that a handheld device is much easier in such a scenario than using a laptop. But then the other bigger challenge is that there is no internet when you go out, right? Especially if you're in a village in Africa, etc. So there is no internet, and that is where our mobile app comes into picture. So as you see, the collections are done in remote areas, in maybe in schools. They put up camps, etc., and they're collecting the specimens. So the key challenge here is, one is support on a handheld device. The other is no internet. You can read about this project. They have their website of their own, and even we have a case study of the OpenSpecimen implementation in this project on our website. If you just Google for OpenSpecimen Precise Network, you will find this case study, and it's a very interesting study, and also very interesting implementation of OpenSpecimen, very different than our usual implementation. So that's why it's kind of interesting. So what we did is develop this mobile app, and additionally, which may or may not be useful in say US, Australia, etc., is its ability to work without internet. So the only reason I can think of why it would be useful in say in your scenarios would be that sometimes when you're in the clinic, this is what one of the clients told us, was that the clinic, either the clinic or the hospital, is not in the same network as same VPN as where OpenSpecimen is installed, or sometimes they're in the basements, etc., and therefore the Wi-Fi or the internet does not work great there. So using the offline mode of OpenSpecimen is kind of would be useful in those kinds of scenarios. So what happens when used in offline mode is that all the data is stored on the phone, and once you come back to the lab or in the network, at that time you can sync it with OpenSpecimen, and the data then is transferred to OpenSpecimen. So obviously there are challenges, like what happens to say if you're generating labels, or if you're generating PPIDs, sequence numbers, etc., how those kinds of things are handled. But that I'll not get into very fine details as of now. Suffice to say, there is some solution for all these kinds of problems. But the key thing here is that the phone works on both, with internet and without internet. When you log into the mobile app, so everything is same. That is, whether you log in via the mobile app or the web browser, it follows the same roles and privileges. The user accounts, security, everything is same as the web accounts. So there is There's no difference in terms of security or in terms of user role, privileges, etc. Whatever you have configured in the web app, if you log into the mobile app, you will see the same kind of stuff. For example, if you have access to two protocols, you will see the same two protocols in the this one. So if you are a technician who does not have access to PHI, you will not see the PHI on mobile app also. So whatever you configured in the web also applies to the mobile app. Same thing for auditing. Again, another security concern, when you use the mobile app versus web app, there's absolutely no difference. All the standard auditing that happens during web app also happens during the mobile app, because finally whole of OpenSpecimen works on APIs, and whatever is configured, so therefore it does not really matter from what mechanism you are accessing the data or operating on OpenSpecimen. Everything gets audited the same way, so therefore there is no difference. And one of the interesting aspects of configuration is that one is, as you can do a lot of screen configuration in the web app using JSON. But what you can also do, and one is, you can also say that the same configuration applies to mobile. So therefore, if one study has a particular configuration, basically you can do study specific configurations. But you can also do, using the same JSON, you can also say that in the mobile app, I want only 3 fields for the participant page, whereas on the web app, I want 5 fields, because maybe when you're in the clinic, you're not going to enter all the data. You're only going to enter one subset of the data. Or when you're scanning the specimen on a mobile app, you only want to see 10 fields that is of importance. Whereas when you're in the desktop, you want to see all the fields. So what you can, in short, what you can do is you can create mobile app specific UI configurations, that too at individual study level. So every protocol can have its own configuration for the mobile app versus different from the web app configuration. So that kind of makes the mobile app much more powerful in terms of, you can define exactly what fields you want to see at the patient level, at the visit level, at the specimen level, etc. So that it makes it very configurable or very specific to what you want to do. As I said, you can define different JSONs or workflows, as we call it, and again, this is at individual protocol level. So if you've got multiple groups, multiple protocols, each one of them can have their own design, as long as they configure the JSON and design the screens. They can have study specific configurations. What are the features that are available currently? So now I'll go through some of the screens in the mobile app. So you can add participants. So first of all, you can see the list of protocols that you have access to, and you can search for protocols, etc. Once you select the protocol, it shows you the list of participants. You can add participant on the mobile app. You see here there's a plus button. Clicking on the plus button shows you the add participant screen. So everything is exactly same as the web app in terms of functionality. What you want to see, what you want to do, etc. For example, every participant has a PPID, registration date, site, etc. So if the PPID is auto-generated, it won't come up on the screen. All those things work the same way, just that it is a different mode of doing it. You can search for participants, and this is where anywhere there is a search, you see this camera icon, and the camera icon is for scanning barcodes. I'm searching for a participant, probably you won't be scanning a barcode as such, but anywhere there is search, you will see that icon where you can search for barcodes based on what they have. For example, so here you can just type in the PPID, etc. if you want. to see the details of the participant. You can also add consents. Again, this is one of the clinic user activity that I mentioned. So when you are in the participant, you're looking at the details of the participant, you see different tabs here. You can see the visits, you can see the forms that are attached to the participant, and you can see the consents that are configured for the participant. So you can go and open the consent forms, enter the consent details. So if you're sitting in the clinic right in front of the patient, you're doing collecting the consents, etc. This is a very convenient way of doing that. You can also open patient level forms. Again, this could be questionnaires, surveys, etc. Now, when you're in the clinic and you want to register, collect the data from the patients, this is you can decide what forms to open. You see here there is a forms tab at the patient level. You go to the forms tab and you open whatever forms you want, and the form is rendered in a way that is convenient for mobile apps. So for example, you see here the questions come one below the other, and the radio buttons, etc., are displayed in a way where you can tap on it and enter do the data collection. So it makes it very easy to do the data entry. As a clinic coordinator, you might also be in charge of collecting the primary specimens, or the mother tubes, or the original tubes, or whatever that you call them as. That is what we sometimes refer as planned specimen in OpenSpecimen. That is, for example, if you have time points that are defined in the protocol as to surgery, post surgery, delivery, post delivery, etc. So the mobile app is capable of finding out what are the events that are already occurred, what are the events that are yet to occur. So this is from the collection protocol definition. You can click on that, see the details, collect the specimens from there, or you see this icon here, you can repeat an existing event. So if the book antenatal event is already done, but for whatever reason the patient has come back and you need to recollect specimens or discard the specimens, etc., you can do all these kinds of things. And this is the visits. Similarly, you can see the planned visit specimens. For example, in this case, there are 2 specimens to be collected, EDTA and fresh tissue. So you can do all these things at the individual visit level. So you go inside the visit. This is the baseline visit. There are 2 specimens to be collected. You can click on plus and collect those specimens, and once it is collected, it will show what is collected and what is pending, etc. You can also collect, obviously, additional unplanned specimens, and those are the kinds of things that you would do as a lab user, as a clinic user. So again, when we're differentiating between lab users and clinic users, I'm just taking that as an example or a real life use case. But in many of our customers' case, there is all the data entry is done by the lab users. So there is no data entry that happens in the clinic. The specimens come to the lab, and then the lab user themselves do the patient registration, consent collection, or form collection. So that can still be done. It's all based on your roles and privileges. Just in terms of explaining the workflows, we are just differentiating between the 2 users. Does not mean that the lab user cannot enter participant, or there is no restriction as such. It is just the way of explaining all the use cases. So now lab users, as I mentioned, let's see some of this. So here we are talking about scanning a barcode. So you have a tube in your hand. In this example, in this photo, they're not using a mobile. I should have picked a better photo. Then someone not using a mobile app to scan. But you have a phone, a tube, and you have the mobile app or a handheld device, and you want to scan. So you see here in the specimen list, there is there is a camera icon here. You scan, and you'll be able to directly go to the specimen to see the details of the specimen. One of the similar use cases that we are not implemented is to ability to scan a box and to see the contents of the box, but that is something that is in our plans to do, where again, because it is equally useful to do that. Similarly, you can do collection of specimen custom forms. So you have a blood processing form, you want to collect data. Again, people who are many of these lab users are doing data entry with like this, gloves in their hand, and not maybe standing on in front of a desk with where they're actively doing their work, etc., and they want to do data entry in between that step. So it's a lot more convenient to do it. So you open the form, do the data entry, save, and move on, and you can collect additional specimens, etc. So as I said, one of the things that we wanted to do was similar to scanning a specimen, is to scan a box. This is something because in the last year we have started working with a lot of labs where have 50 freezers, 100 freezers, large farms of freezers, lot of boxes move around from one freezer to other, or checked out, checked in, etc. So therefore it is much easier to use mobile apps, etc., in those scenarios than a laptop. So the freezer, in fact, in the upcoming release, that is 10.1, you'll see a lot of new features being added in OpenSpecimen around freezer management. We'll shortly be doing a webinar on new features in 10.1 where we'll talk about it. But we added a lot of new features for making things easy for around boxes, freezers, scanning, doing things in bulk, and those kinds of things. And a natural extension of that is to support those things in the mobile app also. So because that would be something that would be very useful for the end users to be able to do such things in the when they are managing the freezers. So some of the things that are not supported today, one, as I said, is the container administrative function, distribution of specimens, request distribution, etc., and also reporting and all those kinds of things. So that's about it for what I wanted to show. Unfortunately, we are not able to do the demo today because of some last minute issue. Demo in the sense actually show the mobile app itself. But if someone is interested and want to see a live demo, we'll be happy to do that. We'll be happy to do that in the because it also needs configuration to be done for your specific use cases. So we'll be happy to show you specifically how it works for you, and then discuss how what are the things that you would like to see in the mobile app if you have to use it in your biobank, etc. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take, or else we'll be sharing the this video with you, and you can refer to it offline. Yeah. Okay, so looks like no questions. So we'll share the video, this recording with you guys shortly, and you're welcome to contact me if there is anything specific you would like to discuss, or have a one-on-one demo with your team to actually see how it works. Thank you very much.